And we're live.
We're late.
Episode 25 of InfoSec to Insanity, Matt. Tell us why we're late.
We're late because I had technical problems. And I had technical problems because I'm a security person. My my laptop using a VPN, this studio setup does not like a VPN, so the microphone was not working until I turned it
Got
off.
it. So you're a Marine. You're not supposed to be late.
Nope. I was technically on time. It just wasn't working.
So if you show up to the line on time but without your boots on,
Yeah, no, you're still wrong. Yep, you're right.
it's good to see you, man. How you been?
Good to see you. We've been good. I was down in Chicago tonight. Got back a little while ago.
Chicago. How far away is that for you?
Hour 20 or so.
All right.
We ISSA Chicago had a meeting, and they come up to my meetings here, so I should probably go down there for theirs.
Yeah.
So
Is Chicago? How big is that? Is that chapter?
mm, theirs is probably like 150 people. Ours is
All right.
like 60 to 70.
Because you'd think like Chicago chapter. It's got to be one of the bigger ones, right?
So funny thing is, last year they actually got an award, but so there's different groups based on the size, and they're a small chapter because it doesn't go by the city; it goes by the amount of members, which
Okay.
is weird.
So Chicago doesn't have a lot of members for the size of the city.
No, and I think I know why, because I think the whole thing is kind of interesting because we don't
Mm-hmm.
really get a lot of our money from the members. The International Association takes it. So we get most of our money to run the chapter from sponsors that we find and we manage.
All right. So the member money goes to international.
Most
You
of it.
just you just get basically what you fundraise through sponsors.
Hmm.
All right. What's the
Yep.
international like? Where's that? I don't know much about ISSA. I've been in this industry
Yeah.
forever.
I probably should know where they are,
Yeah.
but I don't.
All right.
I know they just like replaced the whole board and now they brought in like an organization to like take over the board and like try and run it more efficiently because I think there wasn't a lot of oversight. It was like, give us money, you can use our name, and then figure everything out on your own type
All
of
right.
deal.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I think they're trying to fix it.
Okay.
So,
The one thing I like about ISSA is that it's sort of like not in bed with big tech. It seems like less politics. The politics are probably more down at the chapter level
mhm.
because like ISC Squared's got their own
CERT
thing.
program and all their things. Yeah,
Yeah, and same with ISACA. But yeah, I've always kind of liked ISSA, kind of the homegrown feel about it.
we're like the main thing is about like networking and connecting. So I think that's why I like it. And so like tonight I had three students come up to me. They want a mentor. I'm like, yeah, well, you have to do the work. And just wanting to help people because everyone, wants to be a hacker. And they're like, well, how do I start? Well, don't be a hacker. Like, just go fix computers or
Right.
something. And they don't really want to hear it. But I like sharing my story because I didn't start in security. And I think
Hmm.
there's this misconception on that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of discussion about. I get that we've got a group of 6 here from FR Secure. We had another 4 here the week before that, and it's always a
Damn.
common. Yeah, it's always a common question like, how'd you get started? Where did how'd you get into this industry? And it's always interesting stories, man. There's no one way into this industry. There's like limitless.
The younger generation, they want like a do
Yeah.
this, get there. Like, no, it's gonna be like this.
Yeah. Totally.
So
Yeah, and some of them want to be pen testers. Like they all want to be pen testers. It's like, man, we just don't need as many pen testers as we need leaders, critical thinkers, trainers,
Hmm.
auditors, assessors. There's
Governance, like any, there's so much to do.
exactly. All right, so tonight's episode, the title is "The Biggest Lies in Cybersecurity."
Ooh, the biggest lies.
Yeah, and these are
Intrigue.
some of the biggest lies. I'll preface it with that because there's lots of lies in this industry, so it's not the only ones, but these are some of the biggest ones that come to mind. I think this industry is full of a lot of half truths. Where we sort of tell the truth, but really, do we? Maybe if we did, I think if we were better at telling the truth and understanding what this game actually is, I think there'd be a lot more people doing it better, a lot more people doing it right. Um, so before we even start with that, I want to start with a couple of cybersecurity myths.
Ooh, I like these.
Yeah. So the first myth is hackers wear hoodies in dark rooms
Oh, all the time.
all day, every day.
All day, day.
Yeah, and playing off that same myth, hackers wear hoodies in dark rooms is hackers and hackers are criminals, or hackers and criminals are the same thing,
Oh, yeah.
right? That's
I will confess I was ignorant when I first started. I
mhm,
did have those conceptions because marketing throws it at you a lot.
right.
But once you get out and you start networking and meeting people, yeah, it's just all BS.
Well, yeah, and but that's what people get fed, right? I mean, people that are in this industry, we laugh it off or get angry about it, but it continues to propagate. Every piece of marketing that you see out there in the real world, you got a damn hacker wearing a hoodie in a dark room, maybe a matrix thing going on the screen, and that's not how it is. I mean, think of a hacker as somebody who thinks outside the box, somebody who tests the boundaries, somebody who wants to maybe use something in a way maybe it wasn't intended. I always have a saying that if you've ever used duct tape before, you're a hacker, right? It's ingenuity. Um, yeah, fixing things, breaking
So
things,
looking
fixing
at
things.
um, the term hacker, 1950s and 1960s is when it came and it was started. And
Right.
it seems like it was just initially a computer enthusiast who was skilled at customizing or reworking it or repurposing, right? It
Yeah.
doesn't mean you're breaking shit. And then we went down this road of hacking, cracking, red, white, blue, purple, and like it's so confusing. And then
Yeah. That's what we do. I mean, we confuse ourselves all the time. And it gets to the point where we end up confusing ourselves. We spend time talking about shit that doesn't really matter. But, the way we're perceived, if you are a hacker, which, I think most people are hackers because most people have the ability to think outside the box, to be ingenious, to do something with something that maybe wasn't its original intention. But Hollywood gives us this hoodie, dark room, matrixy looking thing, when in reality, real hackers, you know, it's me, it's you, wearing sweatpants. If I can,
right, I'm
drinking coffee,
comfortable, you know.
drinking energy drinks. Some of us do prefer to work in darker rooms. I prefer to work in a lighter room because it keeps me awake. Um, it's it's just completely different. And in terms of hackers being a bad thing, no, hackers are a very, very good thing. It's criminal hackers, right? It's people who use hacking can be good, it can be bad, just like anything else. And Yeah, there's bad hackers out there, but
What separates good versus bad? What's the line? Is it a
I think
clear
it's.
line or is it always murky?
I think for me, it's clear. It's what your intentions are. And if your intentions are to take advantage of somebody or do something, even I think it is just, it comes down for me, it comes down to doing something that takes advantage of somebody. Because some people might argue, well, if you do something that's illegal, but the law is so far behind what we do in this industry that, I mean, that's open for interpretation. I asked a bunch of lawyers about Project Broken Mirror, where we're scanning thousands and thousands of systems without permission. Is that illegal?
Have you ever seen this book?
No. Say it aloud so the listeners can.
It's I think it's Talon, Tallinn, Manual on the International Law Applicable to Cyber Operations. Gotta be honest, it looks like it was created by NATO. I bought it and never read it. This is when I was like interested in privacy and stuff. But
Yeah.
it seems like this is supposed to be the law. But even then, it's like, I don't know, 600 pages long. So to your point, like it's vague, and I don't think really anybody knows. Like
Well, and that thing said international,
it did. Yup.
so there is no international law.
According to this book, there is.
No, there's
Prepared by the international group of experts at the Innovation of NATO Cooperative Cyber Defense Center of Excellence.
no.
Published by Cambridge.
There's no law. There's a whole hodgepodge of laws depending on jurisdiction. Right. So in the United States, we have, our own legal system. Europe's got their legal system.
So I'm
parts of Europe.
looking at this, a lot of people contributing are like generals and lieutenant generals. So I'm wondering if this was written at like a warfare college to try to define cyber warfare.
I don't know. I don't want
And
to read
like
it.
what is ethical in terms of like offense and defensive operations, but yeah. It's confusing, I would imagine.
Well, and I mean, the law is only worth how you prosecute, right?
Who's enforcing?
How you apply the law, right? So in the United States, it's pretty much civil, criminal, and administrative law. And for criminal law, if you want to think hackers are criminals, it's the same thing, the same burden of proof that applies to proving somebody murdered somebody or somebody raped somebody applies to, information security. So you have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. Yeah, screw it. All right. So another cybersecurity myth: incognito mode makes you anonymous.
That was actually debunked.
It's absolutely not true. Yeah,
not true.
It does one thing and one thing only. It doesn't save your browser history. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all incognito mode does.
Tracking still exists.
Oh yeah, it doesn't hide your IP address. It doesn't prevent websites from tracking you. It doesn't keep you anonymous from your ISP, employer. Doesn't stop malware. It doesn't do any of that shit.
And you can delete your cookies and stuff without having to use incognito every time you close it. It's just a checkbox in your settings that already existed.
Right. All right. So there's a couple of myths. Let's get going with some lies. Maybe you can bring a couple too. I've got 5 that I'll bring up. Number 1, compliance equals security. That's like the biggest one.
So this actually came up at the talk that was there tonight. I
wish I would have been there.
Actually, yeah, we can wrap afterwards. I think you might like this guy. So I don't think it. If we're talking like in terms of binary, where you do the double equals compliance equals security, no. But if you work at a place that doesn't have any compliance and then a place that does have compliance, tell me which place is I don't want to say better, but you know, more feels better, I guess.
I would say the non-compliant, because the shitty thing about compliance is I've mentioned so many times that the number one thing in information security is situational awareness.
Hmm.
And if you are pushed to compliance, you're now not focusing on your most significant risks. You're focusing on what somebody told you to do. You're focusing on a checklist, which then can possibly, and often does, leads to a
Misspend.
false sense of security. So at least you're not fooling yourself if you're not doing anything with security, as opposed to playing the compliance game. And there's other things like compliance. If you're spending information security dollars that aren't on your most significant unacceptable risks, you're wasting money.
Right. I'm thinking of that's interesting because my perspective of all of that was different when I was in finance. So I think, oh, the finance place was like better, but I wasn't really doing anything with risk. Were we doing the right things? I don't know. I was just, the SOC guy, and it felt like we were safer. And now in manufacturing, it just seems like a Wild West clusterfuck. But that's
But
interesting.
at least you're in a Wild West clusterfuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
The one, the sad thing about compliance is it's still by far, there's no statistics that I know of, no numbers, but my gut tells me 80% of all information security spend is driven by compliance.
Yeah, you use that as a threaten to your own business. If we don't do this, we're going to have a fine. It's like you're threatening them and you wonder why they don't like us.
Right.
We
Well,
just threatened them.
and for anybody who has kids, you'll be able to maybe relate to this, but I have 5 kids. I had actually one kid who wanted to and enjoyed cleaning the room. The other 4, we had to play the compliance card, right? You had to force them to clean their room. Now, when you compare the rooms from the 4 to the 1, which room do you think was actually clean?
The one that wanted to.
Exactly. The other 4 did everything they could to skirt around cleaning the room, hiding things in the closet, putting things under the bed. I had kids that hid things in the ductwork, like very ingenious, out of the box thinking. But if you would have just applied that to wanting to do what this actually is versus, the compliance game. So I think there's lots of people, most actually, companies that are heavily reliant on compliance and use compliance as the driver for information security are kind of like my kids. They give you this false, like, look, Dad, it's clean. And then you look around and it's not. Compliance also drives a really bad behavior. It drives what's the cheapest, way to do what we need to do. Just do what we need to do. Check the boxes, narrow scope as much as you can. Convince people that you're compliant. There's more energy and time that goes into all of that than had you just done security right to begin with and been compliant at the same time.
You could spend no money.
Yeah,
Or
potentially.
like
Yeah.
next to no money. Like harden your system, easy. Gold image,
Right.
easy. Patching, easy. Like 80% of your shit's done.
Right. And so that begs the question. So if compliance is not security, compliance in the simplest form is just doing what you've been told to do. The problem with compliance is the intent of the law versus the letter of the law. The intent of the law is that you manage risk well. The letter of the law is what people actually do.
Hmm.
So it's, I know that you wanted me to do risk assessments. What's the cheapest, quickest? Just to check the box. Now, so if compliance is just doing what somebody told you to do, what's security then? Because if they're not the same thing, we should at least define what they are.
I don't think security is achievable. I think no network.
I think it absolutely is.
I think.
What do you define security as then?
Well, I don't. So I think security is a comfort level that you get to with your situation. And I don't think you can actually like say you're secure, because as long as you're plugged into the internet and you have an IP address in a network, something can happen. But it's how comfortable you are with all of that.
So you're sort of defining secure. Then what is actually secure? Are you talking secure is I'm unhackable?
I think that's what my thought initially would be and was. I think a lot of people live in that space, because we actually had an interesting topic come up: data leak prevention versus data loss prevention. Um, yeah, I don't think you're trying to. You can't stop everything.
So then security, that wouldn't be what security is then.
No. So
Because security, because we overthink things a lot in this industry. Security, in the simplest form, is just risk management. It's not risk elimination,
right.
right? So if you think of security as being risk elimination, meaning I'm secure, not hackable, totally safe, that's not attainable. But that's not the definition of security anyway.
Well, then why do we call it security and not just say risk management?
Because it's one word versus two, probably.
It's cooler.
Yeah, it's cooler when we just call it cyber.
Cyber. Ah.
Yeah. So information security is risk management.
Agree.
Because that's something that's attainable. That's something that I can do. It's completely different than compliance, because if I'm just being compliant, that's not risk management. In order for me to engage in risk management, I have to understand my situation. I have to conduct a risk assessment. I need to make risk decisions, and then I need to implement those risk decisions. Mm-hmm. The things that I can't prevent, ideally, I've got something in place to detect. Once I've detected, I've got something in place to respond. It's the same way I would live in my house here, right? There's risks that I accept. If there weren't risks that I accept, then I would live in a lead box, 200 feet underground or something. Right. But I accept the risk. I accept that I've got windows. Those can be broken, obviously. I accept certain doors having certain types of locks on them. What I'm not shooting for when I talk about security of my own house, I'm not talking about risk elimination. I'm not talking about, but I understand the risks. I'm comfortable with the risks, and I sleep well at night. If something were to go wrong here, I do have things in place to detect that. I've got camera surveillance, I've got alarms, I've got dogs. So there's plenty of things in place to ideally detect an intrusion.
You got a new dog, didn't you?
I did. I have 5 dogs now.
5. Dang. Yeah. How's that working?
Awesome. And then in terms of response, this is a thing I wish more people would do actually at home.
Think through.
What would I do? You don't have to be, it's not paranoid. It's not like I don't sleep at night because, oh my God, I actually sleep better at night because I know what I would do if there was an intruder in my house. I know what I would do if somebody stole something, broke in. It's, and it's the same thing we do from that physical perspective to the electronic perspective and people perspective, right? So what would I do if somebody broke in my house? I sleep. There's a knife right next to me. And there's also a very, very, very bright flashlight. I can't carry a gun here in Mexico because there's different laws. But back when I was in the United States, in Minnesota, I had a shotgun. Shotguns are awesome for home protection because all you got to do is just chamber around. And that's a very unique sound that, is usually
Everybody
heard throughout.
knows. Yeah.
Yeah, everybody, it's heard throughout the house.
Yep.
But in order for me to understand risk, I have to understand the likelihood of something bad happening here and the impact if it did. Now, I live in a place that's relatively safe. Now, if I lived in like south side of Chicago, that's a different risk profile, right? There's different threats that apply there. So I would have a different risk level. I'm not saying I wouldn't live there, but if I did live there, I would have different types of controls in place to mitigate the risk, right?
Yep.
So it's that same kind of thinking, and that's the same kind of thinking we need to teach people. This isn't about getting paranoid. It's not about the only reason why people fear shit is because they don't understand the situation. You know, it's a situation I've never been in. I haven't done any risk assessment. You know, I'm basically ignorant. So anyway, compliance, do what people tell you. Security, risk management.
Proactive.
Yeah.
So I'm working on a risk presentation to like educate people on this.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a picture in there where I think a lot of organizations they make decisions, they do things, then they find the risk. But the goal is to talk about the risk and then make a decision. So you're making an informed decision.
Yeah. Yeah, that's ideal. I mean, that you would do that that's just situational awareness, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I want to go clubbing tonight, you know, in South Minneapolis, you know, you do the risk assessment in your head before you go, right? I would think, or you just go. I don't know. That's why I don't understand like how people generally just do things without thinking, and then they suffer the consequences afterwards, and then they're surprised by it.
Maybe they're not surprised. Maybe they just cry. I don't know.
Just cry. Well, the problem is like part of when you do risk, you know, the situation, right? We talk about situational awareness. The problem is the way the world works today, we're all interconnected. So your shitty security has an impact on me.
Yep.
So I can take all the precautions I can, you know, there's still, you know, unknown risks that span out from people I do business with, people that I communicate with, people that I let into my own house. That's the shitty thing is I might be trying to do everything I can to understand the situation and try to make good risk decisions. But if the people around me are making shitty risk decisions, I also suffer from that, which sort of pisses me off.
Yeah.
Think about the third parties, you know, the people who don't do third party information, security risk management.
I'm trying to educate my supply chain on that, and they're just like, duh, we don't care.
Right. Well, and today, most breaches still come directly or indirectly through a third party. So they may not have come and hit you, you know, gone after your firewall, but, you know, they phished your vendor and, you know, pivoted from your vendor into the site-to-site VPN and into your environment or whatever. Business email compromise is a huge, very easy moneymaker where, you know, fish one of two sides of the equation.
Yeah, BEC. Yep.
BEC. All right. So do you agree with lie number one, compliance and security? This is one that goes back since day one. And you hear it all the time. I don't know how many people actually explain why they're not the same thing. But hopefully we did a pretty good job here explaining why these are not even close to the same thing.
Maybe it's because
and they can never be the same thing, by the way.
Maybe it's because of the people I know, but like I don't hear people saying that they are the same thing. Like I don't feel like someone's out there saying, you're secure because of this. I feel like more people are saying this statement. Now there's probably a perception, like an unspoken thing, that if you do this, you're secure. But I don't think anyone's actually saying it, in my experience.
All right, so if all of us agree, then why are we still making shitty decisions and treating it like it's like you say one thing, but do something different?
But there's like an old saying, like if you see someone doing something wrong, you're just gonna like, and you don't know any better, you just keep doing it the same way. Something
Well, I
like
think,
that.
yeah, I think there's a lot of people in our industry who agree with it, but have no idea how to do it.
Well, it's harder, I think, to do it the right. Well, it's not.
I
It's
don't
not.
think it's even harder. I think it's
It's
easier.
it's a different set of skills. Everyone wants to be technical and play with all the flashy because it's cool, and I can sit at the fun kids table. But if you do the real stuff, you're kind of alone.
When you're doing such a, I don't know if that, but you're doing such a disservice to the company you serve.
For sure.
If your executive management and your leadership don't clearly understand that compliance and security are two different things, and if they don't clearly understand that security is the prudent thing to do, and through that achieve compliance, that's how you integrate security into the business. That's how you can actually capitalize on the value of your investments in information security beyond just getting that new customer that required you to be compliant. If you're not coaching executive management on this, I don't know what to say. My first thing to say, you're a shitty practitioner, but maybe you didn't know any better. Maybe you just have shitty executive management. I don't know, but that's
Do
the
you
truth.
think that there's people that don't think it's their job or they don't have the balls to lead their leaders? And they're
I think it's
just
probably a combination.
so instead of speaking up and saying, even though they know it's the right thing, trying to lead their leaders, they're just doing whatever they say and they're just like, yes, okay. Yep. Even though they know it's wrong.
Yeah, I think that's probably true. Or it seems scary. What if they ask me really tough questions? Will I be able to answer those questions? What if
they're an executive?
I think, yeah, yeah. And when you realize that, executives are just people, right? They're people like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Traditionally, we've talked about this before. Your executives are mainly motivated by one of three things: it's money, mission, or ego. So understanding how your executives operate, the right way to communicate with them. But I think in general, there's just a lot of shitty information security leaders, and nobody knows the difference. Unless you're also an information security leader and you know how this is supposed to work. We put a lot of stock in people that have been in this industry. Oh, you got 20 years experience. You must really know what the fuck you're doing. But maybe for 20 years you've been doing it wrong.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it's good experience, right?
Right. Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, I think it's settled that compliance is not the same as security. Then you got to ask yourself, if I'm a practitioner and I'm an information security leader, what's driving the information security investments in the company that I'm working in? Is it compliance or is it risk management? Because your job as an information security leader is, if you want to simplify it, and the way you can tell somebody who's, I think, an expert in their craft is their ability to simplify things, to simplify them in a way that whoever's listening gets what you're saying. So what you do as an information security leader is you consult the business to make good information security risk decisions, and you implement those risk decisions. That's what you do. That's it. Piece of cake. Show me the money.
Fund my project.
Right. And nowhere in that. Now, compliance has to be taken into account, right? We can't not be compliant, but it's which foot comes first.
If you're doing the right things, you'll stand up against compliance.
Pretty much. I mean, it depends on what compliance, you're talking about. If you're talking about like HIPAA, for sure. I mean, HIPAA is all about risk management.
PCI, easy.
SOC 2, maybe a little bit different because you start to get a little bit prescriptive. CMMC, you start to get a little bit prescriptive. But generally, if you're managing information security risk, then you can align your efforts with the business and actually get more value out of the compliance piece. All right. So that's line number one. Line number two, people. Here's a lie. And and I'm interested to see what you're going to say when I tell you this. Lie number 2, people are the weakest link. That's a lie.
Oh, yes. So that one I've been down a journey on too. When I got started, the big company, the big thing that I was involved in was the Know Before thing. Oops, I guess I said a company.
That's all right.
They
You can say
were
companies here.
they're all about people are the weakest link, and I believed that for the longest time. But now I see them as your front line, your most important asset, essentially.
Yeah, I
I
agree.
make mistakes, so who fucking cares?
Well, and people aren't the weakest link. They're I think they're the most challenging, for sure, because it's analog. It's not so binary. It's not so discrete. When you're managing or working with people. But when you look at what causes the most risks, what causes the most damage, people say, well, they say it, people, right? Clicking links, making mistakes. But what you miss, and I think it's more important, which actually makes it the weakest link, is 9 times out of 10, the real failure is shitty system design.
Right, your controls were not implemented properly. You
Well,
weren't
and just
right tools or whatever.
a bad system design. Like, why we blame the users for not clicking links, or for clicking links, but they fucking have to click links.
Right.
For one, you give them a goddamn
To do
mouse.
their
What
job.
the hell is that for?
Mm-hmm.
And 2, we are the ones who deliver the emails to their inboxes with the shitty links. We have the system design of having unauthenticated links that can lead to websites that steal. I mean, it's just a shitty system design from the beginning. And we talked about this in one of our podcast episodes, that security was never built in at the beginning. Had we designed things properly and did risk assessments early on, we would have identified that this is a shitty system design, and we wouldn't put people in this position. So I don't think people are the weakest link. I think our system designs are the weakest link.
I agree. I did a 180 on that in the last few years. Yep.
Yeah. And it bothers me every time I see it, like, because you do see it, before other training, you see it all the time. People are the weakest link. People are the weakest link.
People wanting to be influencers on the Twitters and things. Yep.
Well, and it's bullshit. And okay, so let's say, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Let's say that people were the weakest link. I don't agree with that, and I debate it. If somebody came and said, "Well, I disagree with you, Evan," it would be a fantastic discussion. But let's just give you the benefit of the doubt. Let's say people are the weakest link. So what's the best way to fix that? To tell them they're the fucking weakest link all the time?
Yeah, standing on the corner as they walk by calling them a piece of shit is really going to work.
Right. You're the weakest link. You're the weakest link. You're the weakest link. And then you're expecting them. They're like, yeah, okay, fine, I am.
They know we're talking about them.
Right.
And you're supposed to be creating a relationship within your business to get stuff done.
Yeah. And I get pissed off. And, all the security team people that have worked with me, they'll slip up, stupid users. Like, dude, they're not stupid users. Well, they don't know how to do security shit. I'm like, do you know how to do accounting? Should you go run payroll now? Well, no, I don't know how to do that. Well, they don't know how to do what the fuck, and plus it's like giving a chainsaw to a damn toddler and expecting them not to hurt themselves. It's like, this is just stupid.
How do you feel about the word users?
I think, that's a culture thing. I think in some businesses, some cultures, it doesn't work, and in others it does. That goes back to the compliance, by the way. Here's a loop back to compliance. Compliance would only work. Another reason why compliance doesn't work is because information security is not a one-size-fits-all solution. It never will be. It's never intended to be. Certain risk things that I'm willing to accept in my life are not the same that you would accept in your life. Mm-hmm. Plus, so we're different people. We have different technologies. We live in different physical environments. Everything's fucking different. So why would I think the same controls that work in your house are going to work in my house and it's going to be somehow efficient?
That's a good
It's
point.
not. And back to your so on your question about users, some people would pick up on that. Like some people don't think twice. Call me user, it's fine. Other people think, wait, that's like a drug addict. Drug addicts are users, So you have to know, I think, the culture of the organization you're working in to figure out if that's a language that's going to fit for them.
I try to educate people not to do that because
Yeah.
whether it works or not, I think there's always another option, and no one's ever thought about another option. At the end of the day, you can always call them employees
Yeah. I just call them bitches.
or bitches.
Yeah, them
Bitches get
bitches
stitches.
them bitches get stitches because I keep clicking the links and shit.
Okay, I got one. Zero
All
trust solves everything.
right. Okay. Sorry, I choked on something there.
Was that on your list?
Zero trust. Let's see. No, but I like it.
Yeah.
Tell me why. Tell me why that's a lie.
Because just like information security, like you said, isn't a one size fits all. Zero trust
Mhm.
is not a one size fits all. It's a strategy. You can't buy a product. It's not magic. If you really had zero trust, you wouldn't be able to work. And by the way, they talked about that today too. I think the original concept is from like the fucking 80s or something. So like it's not even new.
Yeah, but even before that,
Yeah.
it goes all the way back to physical battles and war and castle design. Way back forever.
Hmm.
It's not anything. And the thing that pisses me off about that is that there's that dude from Forrester who claims that he
Invented it.
invented the term. It's like, give me a fucking break. We have so much ego in this damn industry.
Hmm.
All right, so zero trust. Yeah, I mean, literally, zero trust means zero trust. The intent is, default deny. So everything that's allowed to communicate with everything that's allowed to do everything with everything is explicitly permitted. And it may have been something that you could have done back when systems were designed much simpler. But in today's world, it's nearly impossible.
You have to
And we
define what it means for your organization, I think. I went through some sort of free evaluation of this, and that's what
Mhm.
I got out of it is like I was waiting for them to tell me like what do I need to do. They're like, "No, we need to decide on this." I'm like, "Well, what the fuck? Doesn't make any sense."
No, and that's
So
not how
you
zero trust is supposed to work. It's not. It's not. You decide. I mean, zero trust is what it says. It's default deny. So every single thing in your environment. So what depends is when you go through all the things that need to communicate with all the things, you get to decide whether that's explicitly permitted or not for an authorized business purpose, or it's not. That's the decide things.
hmm.
And where you start is a damn good, solid asset inventory.
Access control, is it even allowed on the network?
But even before that, you got to do asset inventory. What's even on the fucking network?
Well, what is the network made of first?
It's a lot of work, man.
Yeah.
And I think, and it's not business friendly. Um, and a business is in business to make money, not to secure information. So if you're proposing zero trust, it has to go beyond like because it makes us more secure. How would this provide value to the business? How will this make the business more money? Will zero trust actually make us more money? And if so, how soon? When? That's what the business is thinking about. That's what the executives want to know.
Hmm.
That's the language they speak. They speak the language of accounting. And it wasn't me who just made that up. That was what Warren Buffett said. The language of business is accounting. So zero trust, will it make us more money?
Probably not. If we're
I don't
being
know how.
honest.
I don't know how it would.
As much as you're gonna spend, because assume you're not at default deny everywhere. You're gonna have to spend money to get there. Is it
Oh,
gonna
and it's going
make
to be
you money?
super
No.
disruptive.
Yeah, you ain't making money with it.
Yeah, I mean, and if you were, I mean, I think if you were going to go down the zero trust route, do as much as you possibly can to simplify the entire environment. Get rid of assets that you don't need, because every one of those applications is talking to another damn application or talking to something.
Yep.
And so get rid of all that shit. Get rid of all the networks that you don't need. Get rid of all the
VLAN,
equipment. Yeah.
segmentation.
Simplify the entire damn environment and then sort of start from there. And what you'll find in most environments, it's best to start over. Build a separate environment, a parallel environment, and adopt the zero trust principles in that environment, and then migrate things over into it. Trying to retrofit an existing environment, hell no. You're going to cause. You're going to be out of a job.
You'll break so much stuff. People be so pissed. Yeah.
And the reason why zero trust became so hot because the concept is like, yeah, that's how you secure shit.
That's how we stop ransomware. Zero trust.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in.
It's like, right. And
I was taken to a nice dinner last night. I'm fucking sold.
Well, then the marketing hype, right? How many people did you see jump into the information security market right out of the gate pitching zero trust?
It's like
zero trust, zero trust, zero trust, zero trust, zero trust.
Holy shit. It's like they have a marketing person up all night, and as soon as a new buzzword drops, it's fucking pushed everywhere.
Yeah, that's totally true, man. All right, so zero trust. The lie was, what was the lie again?
Zero trust solves everything.
Okay. The concepts are perfect. And from a security perspective, if I took my business hat off and just went straight security, hell yeah, that's the way to do it. But in reality, the real world doesn't work that way.
Nope.
Good luck. I got a lie. AI will solve cybersecurity.
I had that one too. No, it's not going to. Not at all.
Why not?
It's just another tool.
Yeah. Yep. And a tool, you'll learn that, like, I always think of tools because the analogy works really well. Like, think of a carpenter, or, like a carpenter, like working with a bandsaw or a table saw or a chainsaw or whatever. They're trained to use it, right? But in the wrong hands, you lose hands, fingers, people die. It's the same kind of thing. AI in the right hands is a tool. And it's a tool that can be used to do good things. I use AI typically for ideation. I put things into AI as I'm building or creating something, and I'm like just looking for additional ideas, a different perspective maybe that I didn't think of before. But I don't rely on AI to do any mission critical anything in my life. It's not built. Well, it's sort of built for that, but it ain't ready for that.
I use it for a lot.
Yeah, but I assume you don't just take AI's word for it and just run, do you?
I mean, I read it over. It generally comes back. I don't know, like the way I interact with it, it comes back pretty much like with what I want it to come back with. It just sounds much better.
Yeah. So AI, I think simple tasks still, AI, like you can't use AI to write a really complicated program for you.
It takes a while, but some scripting it's helpful.
For scripting, sure, a quick and dirty script, but and that's what it's kind of good for. It's kind of good for being an assistant, to you, but you're still the boss. Mm-hmm. And the thing why AI will not solve cybersecurity is just logically, every piece of code ever written by any human being anywhere has bugs. Mm-hmm. Some of those bugs are security vulnerabilities. Some of those bugs are functional bugs. Some of those bugs are just fat loopy code shit.
And there's no visibility into this fucking code.
Right. And so AI itself was coded by human beings. It does have bugs. It's always going to have bugs, and you're not going to be able to get rid of the bugs. And then some people will say, well, just have AI write the code. Well, an AI that has bugs that writes code will also have bugs. So you just exacerbated the problem. You just made it worse.
Mm-hmm.
AI in your security things, AI is an over reliance on AI, will erode away your situational awareness. So you'll think, oh, I've got AI watching this thing, blah, 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 blah. If you don't know what AI is actually doing and how it's actually functioning, you just create
like
a
the compliance thing all over again.
Yeah. I mean, you just created a blind spot for you. That's dangerous. If you're using tools that are leveraging AI, meaning like maybe it's a IDS, IPS system or a SIM solution or DLP, who knows? There's some security tool that claims to have an AI backend.
It's probably not AI.
Well, even if it was, right? You have to trust the way AI works, garbage in, garbage out. So if you have this application and you've got a layer now of abstraction because you don't know what the code is doing in the application itself, you don't have access to the source code. So you're trusting that the application is working well on the front end, and then there's some back end feed. Maybe it's an API pull, who knows, with the AI. But if it's garbage into the AI, you're going to get garbage back, and then you're going to be making all these decisions based on Yeah. It's a scary, like, if I were going to use AI, and I do use AI often, but I know what it does. I know how it works. And I question everything, right? I mean, as security people, isn't that kind of part of what we do? We just question everything.
More questions. Yep.
Right. So AI, false positives, AI can be manipulated just like I can be manipulated, just like you can be manipulated. AI itself has bugs. The application that you're using that's using AI will have bugs. So it's not going to solve cybersecurity. It's just another damn tool that you better figure out how to use it and use it well to manage risks. That's what the fuck security is.
I agree.
You got a lie for me?
Yes. Which one do I want to pick? Cyber information security is an IT problem.
That's the lie?
That's the lie. The truth is it's a business problem. The CEO and the board don't care. It just needs to be brought up in the conversation with other risks, finance, physical. Yeah. It's a business problem. We don't own it. Like you said, we advise.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I even go a step further. Information security is a life skill. It's just a life skill, right? Even if I'm not the leader of a business, I'm the leader of something. In my house, if I'm the father of the house, the leader of the house, who's making information security risk decisions in this house?
You.
Right? I mean, what's safe use for my children? What's not safe use for my children? Is my router configured correctly? I mean, the list is like huge of all the things. And it comes back to situational awareness, which again, just makes it a life skill. So for executives, I think it's the same sort of approach. And it's not like I put my whole life on hold to do security in my house. Right. There's a lot of shit that I do, and I have a lot of fun, and a lot of work gets done. A lot of work gets done. Well, you just integrates into your like daily life. And so it is a life skill, and it certainly is a business thing when in that context. And that's why I don't like the word. I mean, I've always been peeved off with the word cybersecurity, because cyber, what it means is of or pertaining to computers. Well, that puts it right back into the IT bucket again. Mm-hmm. And it might be, speaking literally, but, it still has this general feel like it's always an IT issue, right? So I think that just reinforces it, even if it's so slightly.
Well, it's because no one ever wants to push back, because I feel it's because of the ego thing. IT people, smart people, we have egos. We want to be the smartest person in the room. Process doesn't work, computer doesn't work. I'll fix it. My thing, instead of like, that's your application. Like, tell me, like, let's go through this together.
Right. And
You're the owner, not me.
I wish every person in an organization would ask themselves, what value do I provide to this company?
Isn't that what the government's doing right now?
Well, that's what we should all be doing, right? I mean, if you have people working in your organization who aren't providing value to your organization, you have to ask, why the fuck are you here? And the same thing, from an IT perspective, from an information security perspective, there was that one question that I got asked, I don't know, maybe 20 years ago, and I was in a board meeting and I was presenting the results of a risk assessment, and the CEO in the middle of the board meeting interrupted me and he said, will any of this make us more money? And I was totally unprepared for that question. And I said, I actually don't know that. I don't know the answer to that question. Now, they say wisdom comes from experience with pain. That was an experience with pain. So here's the wisdom. Go and find out, will information security make us more money? And the answer is yes, it will if you do it right. If you're creative, if you keep in mind, how am I providing value to this business beyond just securing things, putting controls in place, being compliant. So the right answer now, if I were to be in that board meeting again now, with what I've learned, the answer back would have been yes, absolutely. Which are you interested in? Revenue, sales revenue, or profit? Because we can do one or either or both. It just depends. And so if it's revenue, well then, if complexity is the worst enemy of information security, that kind of lends itself to simplicity is your best friend. So what complex things do we have in place for sales, for onboarding customers? 10-step process to onboard a customer versus maybe a 2-step process. The truth is a 10-step process is harder to secure than a 2-step process. Can we use information security as a market differentiator? Can we build more trust, more credibility with our customers, attract new customers? Depending on what, market we're in, if it's business to business, chances are pretty good we're going to have some customers who are going to do third-party information security risk management. So streamlining the answers to those questions and those processes. I mean, there's just, if you sit down and think about it and work with the business, you'll find lots of ways that you can actually use information security to improve revenue. The profit side is even easier. The profit side, get rid of the shit you're not fucking using anymore. That's part of your attack surface. That's part of, the risk management is all these applications that you're not using anymore that need to be patched all the time, that need to be securely configured. Those are all just things that make it easier for an attacker to attack, increases risk. If you get rid of that shit, that reduces risk. But, the side effect, the benefit is we also improve profit. So
darn, we don't want that.
Right. So, but that's the thing about, practitioners in our industry not aligning with the business. When you start speaking that way to executives, they want to hear more. Oh, you're going to make us more money? Fuck, I thought this was just a cost center. Well, it does cost money, but I would expect some sort of return. I need to understand, and you need to understand that I'm here to provide value to the business, not to leverage fear or compliance just to put controls in place for the sake of controls. That's fucking stupid. So, yeah, there's that. My next lie is cyber insurance will cover you.
Ooh, yeah. I'm good.
Cyber insurance will cover you.
No, that's a lie. There's definitely loop. You have to read it. They're putting, especially after they got raped for like so many years, they're definitely trying not to pay. That's what insurance companies do.
They're in business to make money, man. And every time they have to pay out a claim, that comes off the bottom line. So yeah, their job is to get people on the streets, sell policies. That's revenue. And in order to protect that profit, reduce expenses, pay out less in claims, and that's your profit. That's oversimplified, but that's essentially what it is. And so the reason why the insurance companies went as fucked up as they did, meaning, here's 9 questions, answer these 9 questions and we'll underwrite a policy for you.
They didn't understand the complexity.
And that was partly on purpose.
Oh, I think so.
They wanted to get paper on the streets, get money in the door, get money in the door, get money in the door.
They're starting a new industry, essentially. They got to float somehow.
Yeah, and then and the traditional methods for underwriting insurance were always based on actuarial data. You had loss data, so you could be somewhat predictable on what you're going to have to pay out on claims, and that would drive, your margin. But with information security, where's the loss data? We don't share that shit. Insurance companies are starting to accumulate their own based on the paper they've written on the streets themselves. But that was the initial drive, was to get as much paper on the streets as possible. Because let's say that I'm Aon, for instance, and I write 100,000 policies and people file their claims. Well, now I'm starting to acquire some actuarial data, but you have that upfront loss. Now, on the back end what you're starting to see today is actual risk assessments or specific controls that are required in order to get coverage. Mm-hmm. And a whole bunch of exemptions, like if you didn't patch your systems fast enough, claim denied.
They usually have like 5 things. Like, this is something you can do. Like, when you're talking to your insurance broker or whatever, they usually have 5 things that they're interested in. Ask for those 5 things and drive towards that.
Well, they'll all be in your policy. Somebody should be reading the damn policy, the writer.
But that's how you can save money. Like, if you work on those things, you'll drive the premium down, which is going to save your business money, and it's also going to make you better because they're probably focusing on them for a reason.
Right. Well, and you run into a lot of people, on this lie, the cyber insurance will cover you. Number one, if there's any possible way for them to deny the claim, they will. That's the cold-hearted truth of it. And the second thing is, you run into a lot of customers who say, yeah, we don't have an incident response plan program, but we have cyber insurance. That'll cover it. That's bullshit. It will not cover it. And then they say, well, yeah, because they send incident response, like we call them our breach coach, which is a stupid fucking name for anything. Our breach coach will arrange to have, incident responders, what those come from is the panel, right? Mm-hmm. And then you think, well, those incident responders work for me. No, they don't work for you. They work for the insurance company. It's a big difference. So, meaning that their job is, number one, get things back up and running, probably. But really, are there exceptions here? Are there places where we can deny the claim? And they don't give a shit about taking shortcuts to get you back up and running. And it's typically not highly skilled incident responders, because they had to put lower cost responders in order to get on the panel. So there's a lot of strikes against you. Yeah. So those incident responders, your incident response team, working through insurance does not work for you. We've seen way too many people get burned on that. It's not going to supplement your own lack of effort. All right. So that's my lie. What's your next lie?
We're too small to be a target.
Oh yeah.
That's a lie. The truth is, everyone's a target. I mean, you just have to think about in real life. Like, if we're walking down the road, me and you, we're bullies, we're criminals. We're walking down the road, we want to rob somebody. There's someone that's small, or there's some big dude that's like strapped. Go out there, a small guy.
Well, definitely the guy that I would, or guy or gal or whatever that I'd go after, is the one that's not paying attention.
Yep.
They lack
That's a different
situational
thing.
awareness. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're not paying attention, well, you're an easy victim. You see that all the time, actually, walking on the streets, right? How many times you see people buried their head in their phone?
Phones, yeah. Oh my God, it's crazy.
That's lack of situational awareness. And so that same kind of thing. I mean, your false sense of security, yeah, you're a ripe victim. Because even when I come and take all your shit, you won't even know I came and took all your shit.
Well, and you
And
won't be able to do anything either. You have
you're certainly
no.
never going to catch me.
You're just outie. Like you don't have any plan. You don't know who to call. Like you're just. It's like, yeah, they pulled the rug out basically.
Mm-hmm. Well, and think like the motivator for most small to mid-sized businesses and most businesses in general are the money motivated attackers. So a money motivated attacker wants the greatest return on their investment.
Easy work.
Exactly, easy work. And even if I, if I were a bad guy, and even if I hit you for $100,000, it took me 5 minutes, 10 minutes to do it.
I'll take that.
Thank you very much. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's always been. But there's along those same lines too. Is you have these people who think, just generally, it's never going to happen to me.
Well,
That
we're
happens
such
to
a
other
reactive
people.
culture. That's the problem. Like humans are reactive.
Yeah, and then you play the kind of the victim card. Oh, woe is me. It's like, and the older I get, the more I think jaded I get. It's like, no, you made a series of shitty choices, and there were lots of warning signs along the way. At what point do you just let them suffer the consequences of their shitty behaviors?
Yep.
I mean, I hate to say it.
I'm a living version of that.
Right.
Not in InfoSec, but with alcohol. There's
Well,
always
and
signs.
people only change if there's like a reward or it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get hacked because you didn't take any of this seriously. And obviously there's no reward in that. So it's got to hurt for you to change your behaviors. I don't know. And you had the warning signs all along, yet you still chose to have these shitty behaviors and still not pay attention. And then you get hacked. I hate to say it, but I kind of don't feel sorry for you.
Yeah.
I've been preaching this for 30 fucking years.
Yeah.
I'd rather spend my time on people that are actually taking this seriously, trying to be responsible. And yeah, if you make mistakes along the way, man, we all make mistakes. I'm more than willing to come help with that, but it's the
totally oblivious.
Yeah, I never knew that crystal meth was bad for me. Like, sorry, man, it is. I'll be here when you're done. All right, that's a good lie. All right, so another lie, there's a cybersecurity talent shortage.
Yep, we had a whole conversation about that in a podcast, and that actually came up tonight again at this meeting we were at. Most of the jobs posted aren't even fucking jobs. The lie is there's not as big of a demand as you think there is, I think, and it's competitive. So quit bitching and just try to do something. Like find a job. I said this today. Start in fucking IT. Start at the help desk. Holy shit, that's where I started.
Right. Yeah, it's crazy how many people just, I sent an application and I didn't get the job. Like there's more to it than that. I mean, if you're hungry enough, you'll find ways, networking is a great way, getting to know certain people, in the industry, expanding your network. And then when they know about something, I mean, not only can they open a door for you potentially, but they can vouch for you. Some of them are actually, hiring managers. So, get off your ass. And I know it's hard to find a job, and I haven't personally had to go find a job in a long time. So I don't know what it's like, but you got to get creative. You got to find ways on the demand side. I think people hire and they don't have no idea what the fuck these people are, what the people they're hiring are actually going to do.
I have this guy that goes to the gym that I go to. He works for an insurance company. He says, and he's in cyber. My manager has no idea what I do all day. I do just enough to make sure I can keep getting paid. What
Right.
the fuck kind of person are you?
Right.
He told me
Well,
that, and like, what the fuck?
I appreciate the fact that he told the truth.
I guess.
I mean, and it goes back to, I think, shitty information security leadership. Why in the hell would I ever have anybody on my team that's not needed to satisfy the mission? I'm not into carrying dead weight. Every dollar we spend on information security is one less dollar we can spend on growing this business in other ways. I'm supposed to be providing value to this business. This team is my responsibility. I know exactly what skills I need for whatever it is that needs to get done. Or if it's a larger team, you've deferred that and you've got direct reports who tell me these things and know what's expected. So I think a lot of it just comes down to shitty information security leadership. Like most of the lies that we've covered tonight, it's just shitty leadership. What are you actually doing? And it's like if I see one more damn entry level fucking position that requires a CISSP, we got to do something about, or you have knowledge in like 15 security tools, 10 programming languages, and quantum cryptography, and we're willing to pay you 50 grand.
I had one job interview that was like 3 hours, and they gave me a piece of paper, double-sided, with all their tools on it. Tell me if you have experience with each of these tools. There was like 100 fucking tools. Like, I guess 90 of them I've never heard of before.
Right.
Didn't get the
Well,
job.
is that some kind of badge of honor?
I guess. I don't
I mean,
know.
rather than giving me the name of, the brand of a tool, why don't you tell me what the fucking tool is?
How is it helping us?
So rather than telling me you have a Stanley, why don't you tell me a hammer?
Oh, that's a fucking great interview question. Make a list like that of tools and have them tell me which ones I can get rid of. That's a fucking great interview question.
Or what you would use them for? Rather than, because I think there's a lot of bragging about, we've got Palo Alto, blah, blah, blah. We've got CrowdStrike, blah, blah, blah. I may, have all the experience, like tons and tons and tons of experience with Cisco firewalls. May not know Palo Alto, but is that not still applicable to know how to use a firewall properly?
Firewall's a firewall.
And I can read a fucking manual. So yeah, that's irritating because it's like a badge of honor when you can. I mean, you've been to conferences before, and the geeky IT folks, IT type security folks are bragging about this tool, that tool, and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, I mean, that's cool, but in context with everything else, the worst decisions I ever make in life and information security are the ones without context.
It's just creating more work for yourself, and it's creating a whole shitload of metrics that don't have context.
Yeah, and are completely fucking meaningless to your executives.
Mm-hmm.
How many threats did our firewall stop last month?
10,000.
And your executives are like, okay, cool.
Yeah, thanks,
bro. Can we talk about sales now?
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's the lies I have. You got any more lies for me?
Nope. The rest of them I had. I guess I'll add another lie I just came up with. Vendors are a lie.
Vendors themselves are a lie?
Yeah. So I mean that from the sense of vendors should not be driving your program. If you go out, you're going to conferences, they're going to tell you buy this, buy that, buy this, and you're going to end up being that shitty leader that has 100 tools, and your vendors are going to be driving your program, not you.
Yep. And that's
don't
just
listen
simple.
to them.
Yeah. I mean, that's just simple shit, right? A vendor is rewarded and biased by sales, right? If they don't sell you shit, they don't get any money. So, like, why would I ever go to somebody who has a different motivation than what's actually in my best interest? Right? They don't suffer any consequences if they sell me a tool that I didn't need.
Well, and it's
I
like
do.
you also have seasoned, experienced salespeople, multiple companies all over, real slick motherfuckers, and then you got young people coming in, becoming leaders. They don't fucking know. They're getting they're
Right.
getting swooped. Oh, I that sounds good. I need that. I need that. And then you have the even shittier leader that just fucking buys it because
Right.
we're getting bigger budgets because we got breached last year. Fuck yeah, woo!
Yeah. Yeah. Which, it's that, yeah. A misspent information security dollar, in my mind, is no worse than a dollar that was stolen by an attacker. It's one less dollar I got. It's one less dollar for the business. It's one less dollar for bonuses, for uh, better benefits for the employees, market expansion. I mean, whatever the fuck you want to use it for. And the same thing goes with their vendor shit. They're the absolute wrong place to go ever with where you should spend money is the vendor. If you're a good information security leader, you'll let risk decisions drive these investments. And then before you even go to market, you'll spec it out. You'll have specs. You'll have specific requirements that your products need to provide before I go to market. And then I might find 3, 4, 5 different players that could provide that thing that I need, and then start working from there. Because another thing that you'll find with your vendors is, yeah, you hit my 5 key requirements that I needed in this product, but you also have 1,000 other damn things that I don't need. But you're going to use those to impress me
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to play like, well, does the competition do this one thing? Well, that one thing was never on my list of things I needed, so I don't give 2 shits. If anything, it's worse that your product does all these 1,000 other things because it's more complex.
You're
And
not
going
doing
back to
them all well.
complexity, one, complexity is again the worst enemy of security. Like, I would rather, if I had 5 things and if I could get those 5 things that I need done in 1,000 lines of code versus I can do these 5 things and another 10,000 things that I don't fucking need in 2 million lines of code. Why the fuck would I ever go that route? Now, but
Because it's
all of these
another
things,
service to sell. It's another thing.
right?
That's why
Well,
greed.
and all of these things require situational awareness. I have to actually do the work. I mean, I get paid, motherfucker. I mean, I don't understand. I get paid for this. So why don't I act like a damn professional? Why don't I master my craft? Why don't I understand what's in my environment? Why don't I understand what I need and what I don't need? Rather than taking advice from somebody else who has no idea what I need. I don't know. Does it seem like it to you sometimes, Matt? Like there's a whole bunch of people, and it's not universal, but there's a whole bunch of people in this industry that are sort of just, I don't know, skating. Like
Ha!
not,
That's the perfect term from the military we use all the time. Skating. Yes, Evan. Absolutely.
yeah. I don't like skaters. Like, we get paid well, get out there, do it right, or don't do it at all. And, I think it's on us for those who aren't skaters to call out the bullshit. When we see skaters, I mean, do
Fucking
it.
trip them.
Well, yeah, we'll do it appropriately, right? I mean, go to them first. You don't want to,
Right.
and if they refuse, well, then eventually, I mean, people suffer for this shit. People genuinely suffer when we get our jobs done poorly, when we make the wrong calls. We make mistakes, but fessing up, owning up to it. Yeah, man, we're dealing with people's lives. We're not dealing with just some kind of mystery shit.
Like if you're looking to join the industry, right, and you're paying attention to all these people that are going to conferences, they're at all the cons, the RSAs, the DEF cons, whatever. When the fuck are they actually working?
Right.
They're
That's a
skating.
very good question.
They're
They
not
are
actually
skidding.
they're not working, or they're in sales and they are working. There's so many people that it kind of pisses me off. I don't think
Mhm.
sales is part of the industry. Like, oh, I work for a cyber company, so I'm in the industry. No, you're in fucking sales.
Right.
You're not in the industry. I that bothers me.
That's a very good observation, though. The big names in our industry, you have to question: do you actually fucking do anything?
Yeah.
I mean, it all sounds good. It sounds legit, and you come off like you're an expert in these things. But are you? I mean,
Now
how
I
many times do we question each other on these things?
now I would say you don't want to jump to quick judgment, because I think
True.
there is value for the people that have been doing it for a very long time, and they're now coming to an end and they're sharing their wisdom. I
Very
think that
true.
is valuable, but there is like the influencer crowd, and you can tell,
Hmm.
you'll know who they are at all
Right.
these conferences, fucking doing it. Like, when are you working, bro? Are you? I don't know.
Well, last week we had on, in my opinion, one of the, and my, I'm hard to
Oscar
impress. I
the
think.
man.
Yeah, I'm hard to impress, but Oscar's, I would trust him with my security program in a heartbeat. The guy's a brilliant practitioner. He's a great leader, and nope, he doesn't have any social media presence. He's not on the speaking circuit. He's busy fucking working. He's busy leading a team that's out there doing things. Now, yeah, you're right. He might come to a point at some time in his career where, I'm no longer a practitioner. I'm kind of more of a coach, and so I'm going to go hit the speaking circuit. But I'm guessing what he'll probably do is prop up another leader to fill in after him, and then he's going to
Right.
go fishing. And then he's going
So
to go fishing.
he can afford to step away, right?
Yeah, so he's going
Yeah.
to go fishing. All right, so what's the fix for this? I'm going to give you four things. I think number one, stop believing the lies.
Don't believe the hype.
No, and I mean, never stop asking why. Why? I mean, that's the question. Why is the path, the opening to the path of understanding. If you want to understand how this works, if you want to understand, you know, anything, start with why.
Do you know where asking why is also very valuable?
Hmm.
Root cause analysis. Five
Amen.
whys.
Amen.
It
So,
seems like it just is all part of the same thing.
right. Yeah. So stop believing the lies and trust, so if you were going to do zero trust on anything, start with yourself. Zero trust your damn self. So, like, you told me it does this thing. Well, I don't trust that. So I'm going to question. I'm going to question it, and then I'll validate it. And then if it works out to be true, well, then, all right. There's an explicit accept there, I guess. But stop believing lies. Number two, push for real security. If you don't know what security is, ask why. Get to it. Not stop playing compliance theater. That's all it is, just fucking theater. Real security is risk management. Period. In order for me to manage something, I better fucking understand it. So if I'm going to engage in risk management, I should understand what risk is. And I get it. The first time you go through this kind of stuff, it does seem pretty mechanical because it's new. You're evaluating and talking about risks that you never considered before. That's all positive and it's all like good, right?
It's
Because every one of
growth.
those, yeah, and every one of those things that starting to understand the environment better. You're starting to understand your situation better. And then it does come a time when, you just get used to it and it just becomes a way you do life. It's a life skill now.
I would also add, when you're talking about do security, um, if you're on a team and you're fighting fires and you're doing like ransomware or incidents like every day, you're probably fucking doing it wrong.
That's the truth.
There's one of my coaches I had said most IT departments are designed to be firefighters, and that is not where you want to be.
Now, back in the day, you could always, when I was more IT, you know, really heads down into the networks a lot more than I am today. You could always tell a good IT person back in those days because they had all the time in the world on their hands.
Oh, yeah, you told me about ping pong and shit.
I played 10,000 games of ping pong because my shit worked, right? I mean, that's how you knew. So there was no firefighting. It was proper planning. It was proper design. It was proper testing. It was implementation. It was being prudent. It was being responsible. When shit did go sideways, we designed the damn shit, so we better be able to fix the damn shit. So, you know, there was a lot of time. And I think the same kind of thing can apply to security people, that you can be proactive. You don't have to be putting out fires all the time. If you understand the situation you're in and you've designed things properly and you've got executive buy-in and you are leading well, you probably have more time to go out and just take the vendor's money for these free dinners. I'm not going to buy your shit, but I'll go eat your food, play golf.
I do like the golf. Yep.
I hate golf.
Down for that.
But I'm all about, you know, handouts, I guess. All right, and the last one, hire based on potential, not unrealistic unicorn bullshit, right? So and you know, I think get it right. Specifically, what is this? The clearer you are in a job description, the clearer you are on roles and responsibilities, the less gray area, the harder it is to manage. I mean, the easier it is to manage them. Expectations are clearly outlined. It's easier to measure performance. But, you know, this unicorn job description bullshit.
It's hurting not just you, but everyone else out there looking for a job.
Yeah, you're fucking with people's lives. And people need jobs so they can pay their bills, so they can feed their families. And if you're lazy in that, you're hurting people. That's what I got, man. That's what I got for the lies. You know, again, they're not all the lies, but I think there's some of the biggest lies in cybersecurity are those. Do you agree?
I 100% agree, Evan.
Evan. Rarely do you call me
Evan
by my. Rarely do you call me by my first name, Matthew.
It's weird. I'm trying to do that more consciously because I'm pretty terrible at that. I usually just call everybody sir. But
you can call me sir. I grew up in a military household.
Sir I think it just creates a better connection. I think
people seem to get offended sometimes when you call them sir.
Yeah, I would agree. That's why it's not like, again, it's not a one size fits all thing. But I try to.
Yeah, but I grew up. If I didn't refer to another male as sir, I got hurt. You know, growing up in the Marine Corps. So it was kind of, yeah, I mean, it was beaten into me, but that was a different time. So I like calling people sir. I think it shows respect. Mm-hmm. In Mexico, we got, you know, kind of the same thing.
Senor.
Well, in like, you know, you've been working on Spanish. So like,
sí.
Like, tú versus usted. Right. Two is the informal, friendly, usually somebody my same age or younger would be the you, whereas usted would be usually used as a, you know, respect, somebody that you don't know well.
An elder.
Yeah. So it's in multiple cultures.
Ustedes.
All right. Well, that's a wrap, man. If we got nothing else to say, look for us next week. We're going to talk. I don't even have what we're going to talk about next week, but let's find something really controversial and piss a whole bunch of people off, but piss them off with truth and love.
Yeah. So again, it's not about buying tools or trusting compliance. You know, stay informed, be proactive. And if you liked what we talked about, you want to add value, drop some comments. We'll check them out. Don't forget to subscribe or subscribe to Evan's awesome blog to get up-to-date newsletter.
Yeah. And I'll start trying to figure out how to market this thing more, because I know we got lots of voices out there, and I know we're not like, there's some controversy in the way we say things. And I'd certainly like to engage in some
dialogue,
passionate, respectful discussions about shit. If you see something and disagree with something we said, we're not going to tear you up unless you come on here and be an asshole. But,
I think we're pretty reasonable people.
Yeah, usually. You can catch me in a mood. Maybe. All right. Well, that's a wrap. We'll see you next week.
See you next week.
All right, brother.
Da, da, da.
Let me put my mic onto my AirPods.